Yes, we are live now.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Caddo Parish Commission meeting for September the 20th work session. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hopkins,
Here.
Commissioner Johnson,
Present.
Commissioner Jackson, Commissioner, sorry, letting somebody in the room. Commissioner Young,
Present.
Commissioner Burrell, Commissioner Cawthorn,
Present.
Commissioner Gage Watts,
Present.
Commissioner Taliaferro,
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Atkins,
Here.
Commissioner Chavez,
Here, sir.
Commissioner Lazarus, and Commissioner Epperson.
Yeah.
All right, that is, it looks like I'm counting 9 present and 3 out. There's 1 logging in right now. Either way, you do have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. I would ask that Commissioner Taliaferro do the invocation and Commissioner John Paul Young would do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay. All on the call, let us pray. Heavenly Father, Lord Jesus, we love you, and because we do, we are so thankful for the many blessings that you have given us, both as a commission, as a county, as a state, and as a nation. Lord, we ask your many blessings upon those who are less fortunate than ourselves, and bless all of our frontline workers, medical, police, fire, and our military members in service. Lord, we ask your blessing upon this meeting, and let it be for your glory, and to take care of those who under your umbrella of protection, and do the right thing for our constituents. In your name we pray, amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance and make the appropriate salute for you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Taliaferro and Commissioner Young. Next item, Mr. Clerk.
Brings us to agenda additions. Or do you have any agenda additions today, Mr. President?
No, I don't.
Okay, if, I have none. So that brings us to the point where
One. Does this pass by acclamation?
Yes.
Yes.
Point of order, please.
Okay.
Mr. President, I just wanted to bring up that under our charter and our bylaws, I don't see where we can use acclamation for approvals in a public meeting, in one of our public meetings.
Okay. Well, we do roll call.
and I would respond just in interpretation maybe differently, but you know, the charter does require that we acknowledge individual votes. So on a acclamation, those votes are all counted as yay votes. You know, perhaps I'm interpreting that differently than it's been interpreted in the past, but that is where we got the determination that it would be appropriate, is that, you know, we do record those votes. It's just we record them as a yay vote from each member, unless anybody objects, in which case we do a roll call. So but we'll go ahead and do a roll call. Commissioner Hopkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson, Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Cawthorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts,
Yes.
Commissioner Taliaferro,
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez,
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus, and Commissioner Epperson.
Oh.
I'm sorry, was that no?
10-4.
Okay, so that motion carries with, let's see, 9 in support, 1 in opposition, and 2 absent. And that brings us to the certificate of teleconference is attached. There's no action required. That brings us then to citizens' comments, where citizens who wish to address the commission are able to fill out a form online beforehand. to submit comments electronically. We have not received electronic comments for today's meeting. And then people that would like to call in are invited to call in at 318-226-6596. Again, that phone number is 318-226-6596. And Mr. President, how long would you like to give for phone calls?
Initially 30 seconds.
Okay. Again, that number is 318-226-6596.
All right, next item, Mr. Clerk, if you don't have any calls.
I don't believe we do, but just one moment, Linda, could you verify that you don't have any calls?
That's correct. We have no callers.
Thank you very much. Okay, that brings us to visitors. We have no scheduled visitors today. So the next item is old business. There's no scheduled old business today. So then that does bring us to new business, where the first item is 8.1 to authorize the introduction of ordinance number 6112 of 2021, an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues for the American Rescue Plan Fund to provide an appropriation for Caddo Parish Juvenile Court and otherwise provide with respect thereto from the American Rescue Plan Committee.
Move to advance to Thursday.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Atkins, second by Commissioner Hopkins to advance ordinance number 6112 of 2021 to our regular session. I'd like to make a substitute motion to englobo in advance ordinance number 6112, 6113, and 6114.
Second.
It's been moved by the chair, second by Commissioner Cawthorn to englobo in advance ordinance number 6112, 6113, and 6114 of 2021. Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Commissioner Hopkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson, Commissioner Young, Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
and Commissioner Young, I'm sorry, did I hear you say yes?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure I heard you correctly. Commissioner Cawthorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts, Commissioner Gage Watts, I didn't hear you. Commissioner Talaferro,
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez,
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus, and Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
All right. It looks like there's 9. Commissioner Gage Watts, did you respond?
I did not.
Okay, I'm sorry. This is to englobo and adopt ordinances 61, 14, 13, and 12. Did you, or englobo in advance, I'm sorry. Did you want to vote for that or against that?
Yes.
Okay. All right, that motion carries with 10 in support and 2 absent. And that brings us to authorization of ordinance number 6115 of 2021. It's an ordinance to enact sections 32-115 to 32-118 of the Code of Ordinances of Caddo Parish relative to curfews, to provide for a curfew for persons under 18 years of age, to provide for penalties for violation of said curfew, and to otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Move to advance.
A second.
Been moved by the chair, seconded by Commissioner Gage Watts. Commissioner Hopkins, you want to speak to that motion?
Yes, sir. I just, since there's not an ordinance on the agenda here attached, can you explain what those penalties are, please?
Is Henry on? I think basically what it did is if there is a juvenile that is out past curfew, that juvenile would be taken to a location. His parents would be notified. On the first offense, it would be, I think it was $250. And then any offense after that, the parent would be $500, up to $500, and up to $250 on the first.
And what is the curfew time?
The curfew time is, hold on for a second.
Okay. 11 p.m.
So same as driver's license for
Yeah,
17.
11 p.m. 11 p.m.
Yes.
to 5 a.m.
I think, yeah, it is.
Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Chavez, then John Paul Young, and I think I hear Commissioner Talaferro too. So we're
Thank you.
going that order.
Thanks, President. Where are they being held? I heard you say that they were going to take them somewhere. Where was it? Somewhere?
So the city takes the juveniles now to the Rutherford House. And if we follow suit with that, we will have to set up an agreement with the Rutherford House as well.
Okay. And I'm cool with this. I just, before Thursday, can we get this data to the clerk to add?
You should have it after today.
Okay. Awesome. I'm done, President. Thank you.
Yeah, I thought it was actually going to be attached, but it was. Commissioner, somebody had said, Commissioner Young.
Thank you, Mr. President. I had a question for legal also. Does the statute say what is the recourse for the juvenile if they can't pay the $250? Do they get community service? Are they sent to detention? What happens then?
It's not to the juvenile, it's to the actual parent, making the parents responsible for the juvenile.
Okay, so if the parent can't pay, what happens to them?
Well, in the one that I did send to Henry, and that's what I guess the reason why he didn't put it on, there were some alternate scenarios of community service and actual jail time.
Okay, and would the jail be at juvenile or would it be at CCC?
It's to the parent. It's to the parent.
Oh, so the parents would be sent to CCC.
Yes.
Okay.
The judge would make that decision based upon his ruling, or
yeah.
whoever is. Yeah, they would make that ruling of up to so many days in jail or up to a fine.
Okay. Thank you. That's all.
Okay. Commissioner Talaferro, did you have something?
Thank you, Mr. President. I just can't get my hand to cooperate here.
Okay.
Are there any provisions, or will there be any provisions which address minors, let's just say teenagers under the age of 17 who are gainfully employed?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Did I miss that in?
That's an exception. That's in section 32-17.
Okay. I get you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Okay. And that's under C as well. 32-117C. Seeing no one else, roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Commissioner Hopkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson, Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell. Commissioner
Yes.
Burrell. Okay,
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Cawthorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts,
Yes.
Commissioner Talaferro,
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez,
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus, and Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries with 10 in support and 2 absent. And I'm sorry, let's see, the next item is going to be authorizing resolution number 69 of 2021. It's a resolution to provide an annual certification to the state and Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development in accordance with the off-system bridge replacement program and to otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Move to Thursday.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Hopkins, second by Commissioner Atkins. Commissioner Hopkins, you want to speak to your motion?
No, sir.
All right, seeing no one else, roll call, please.
Commissioner Hopkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yeah, and I should be yes on all those others. I don't know why.
your sound wasn't coming through. Thank you. We'll make that note. And then, let's see, Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Cawthorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts,
Yes.
Commissioner Talaferro,
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez,
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus, Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries with 11 in support and 1 absent. And the next item that we have today is to authorize resolution number 70 of 2021 for the Thursday agenda. It's a resolution urging and requesting law enforcement agencies with jurisdiction in Caddo Parish to enforce laws regarding teen curfews, including but not limited to Louisiana Revised Statutes 32, 416.1, and others providing with respect thereto.
Move to advance to Thursday.
Second.
It's been moved by the chair, seconded by Commissioner Cawthorn. Seeing no questions.
I have a question, sir.
Okay.
Can you just similarly to the previous ordinance regarding juveniles, can you comment on that? Just give us a little background on this, please, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, this one is already a state statute, no changes. It just basically, I don't think this has been enforced by local law enforcement. It prohibits juveniles from driving between 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. unless they meet the qualifications of the exceptions of maybe a job, a school event, a sanctioned school event, or they're with a family member that's in the car with them. They just can't have 5 juveniles or 4 juveniles and a 20-year-old in the car that's not related to them. They will get stopped, pulled over, and then apprehended.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Commissioner Jackson.
I'm just curious. I guess this question is posed to our legal team. Is this not a mandate? Or a requirement? How would we want to classify it as? Is this not?
Excuse me, are you talking about the enforcement of curfews?
Yeah, aren't we mandating? And if people don't follow this particular law or mandate or whatever, they're punished, right?
Well, Commissioner, I think the resolution just encourages them to enforce it, but just like the officers have discretion on whether or not to write a traffic ticket, they have discretion or not whether to enforce the penalties that are in the statute when they pick someone up.
Mm-hmm. So this is theoretically a mandate. Is that your answer? Yes.
My answer is not a yes or no answer. My answer is this is a law, but the cops don't have to enforce it as provided in the statute if they choose to use their discretion and not do it.
But the parish commission on the ordinance that we just passed and those that we are encouraging to adopt or enforce their curfews, they're mandatory curfews, if my understanding is correct.
What will happen is the ordinance on curfews will become a law within the unincorporated areas of the parish, and law enforcement within those areas will have the discretion whether or not they will enforce the penalties if they pick someone up who's violating them.
So did I not see the word mandatory in somewhere up there?
You may have. That's usually used in terms with laws. However, the officer enforcement have the discretion. I don't want to give the impression that they don't have the discretion whether or not to enforce those.
Well, they have the discretion to enforce any laws. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so they have what I thought I saw was something that said mandatory, or did I not see it? I'm just trying to get my understanding here, if it's not mandatory, then it's not. But I thought I saw something that said mandatory. And there was a conversation about mandates some weeks ago and not wanting to mandate anything. And so
This is a resolution urging and requesting.
no, something was wrong with my audio a while back. And so I'm asking a question on this resolution as well as a question on the ordinance. They all seem like while the enforcement is optional, it seems as if the law is mandatory. Do I have the wrong interpretation there, Attorney Frazier?
Commissioner, I don't know how I can be any more clear in mandatory
Is
versus
the law,
not.
is the law a requirement? If we pass the laws, is it a requirement for those people to be off the street at 11 o'clock or not? That's a straightforward question. Is it a requirement that they be off? Of course, we know that enforcement is optional, but is it or is it not a requirement? If we adopt these laws, is it or is it not a requirement that those people be off the streets at a certain time?
My straightforward answer is that yes, the law would require that they would be. However,
Right.
if it's not enforced, we don't have the ability to make them get off the street if who's ever handling enforcement chooses not to do it.
But I heard you say that, yes, it does require them. And so the point that I'm making is what we do is set laws. And so there was a conversation a couple of weeks ago about mandating or requiring certain things. But here we are today setting laws for the parish. And it's my understanding that this is done in the name of public safety, or I guess that's to the author of the resolution and ordinance. Is this done in the name of public safety, or?
About the reason why it's on the agenda or the reason why we're doing it?
Or the reason why you offered it? Is this in the name?
Because of public safety, because of the incidents that has been happening with the juveniles of late. We need.
So you identified a problem, right?
But yeah, can we get to what we get into though?
Well, what I'm getting to, and I think people think they are trick questions, but we've identified a problem and we're trying to come up with a solution. Or we've come up with a solution, and that solution requires us putting in requirements and laws to help protect the greater good of the public. So they're not trick questions. I don't know why we are kind of skirmishes, but the point I'm trying to make is that's what we do, is we set laws. And those laws sometimes are, well, not sometimes, they're required to be followed. And if you break those laws, there's an enforcement component. Now, the enforcement component is not in our hand, but we set laws. That's what we do. So that's what I was trying to get to. Thank you.
Mr. Chavez.
Thank you, President. I wanted to check on this. That was a lot of back and forth prior to my question, but we're putting it on here because we know the recent events that have transpired, but is it said that our local law enforcement are not doing their job in respect to curfew? Or has that been said? Obviously we all want the same thing. We want law and order. We don't have any representatives from the sheriffs or the police department to come down here to say that they're not. So my only request, and I'll forward this to Thursday, but I'll question on voting on it on Thursday, but can we see about getting maybe one of those respective parties down to address complaints on curfew and if they are enforcing it, and if they're not, maybe any plans that they have. And of course, I don't want to tell a different agency to do their job if they are doing their job. I'd like maybe like an update on said job. Can we see about doing that on Thursday?
Administration, I guess you can answer that one way or the other.
Yeah. So Commissioner Chavez, you're asking us to ask the sheriff in this case whether or not he'll be able to enforce this law that we're coming up with,
Well,
this
our-
resolution?
this is more of a resolution asking them to do their job, which, you know,
Yeah.
it sounds like we're, and I don't really like the connotation of it when we haven't had the conversation. Are y'all doing your job? And obviously we know there's an issue within the city of Shreveport. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
So I wanted to see if maybe the sheriff and the police department can come down and maybe give us a report on if they come out and they've had 100 curfew calls and they've taken care of 80 of them. Well, then we know that, okay, they are doing their job. But if they show us that, hey, in the last 6 months, we haven't written a single ticket or dropped anybody off at the Rutherford house, then maybe it is time to ask them to do their job. So before I can vote on this, I'd like to feel a little more comfortable getting it from either the police department or the sheriff's department's mouth on the current situation. You think we could invite them down on Thursday to speak on it?
Okay, well, let me say this. We will try to get an answer for you. But I can also tell you, I had an opportunity to visit with the sheriff about a week or so ago. And he's telling me he is significantly short on manpower. And it's my understanding also that the city of Shreveport is 100 officers short. So they have to prioritize what they're doing. And I don't know if this is going to reach the level of priority that it should be given. But I don't want to speak for them. They can speak for themselves. I'm telling you, they're significantly short in manpower. And what they do is driven by the amount of resources that they have. So we will attempt to ask the question concerning this matter and get an answer back to you before Thursday.
I appreciate that, Dr. Wilson. I would just hate to urge them to do their job when they're at max capacity and manpower and they're not able to do their job. And it's like adding salt to a wound when we're telling them, hey, do your job, and he's maxed out and he's doing everything he can. So I would just like that information first to feel more comfortable about voting on this on Thursday.
Okay, sir.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you, Chairman.
You're welcome, sir. Mhm.
Commissioner Hopkins, and then Young, and then Watts.
Yeah, the only thing I have a question on both the ordinance and the resolution is we're doing the unincorporated areas, which is nothing wrong with that. But for a deputy to be in Keithville or to be in outside of Ida and bring them all the way back into Shreveport is going to put is undue problem on those officers since they're shorthanded. So although I support both of them, I think we really need to look and do some exploring before we set where we go with these truants or whatever you want to call them, people after hours, kids after hours. Most of the small municipalities have a curfew, but they're handling it. Usually they take them home and write their parents a ticket. Doing it out in the parish is a lot harder to do like that. So that's my only concern. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Young.
Thank you, Mr. President. Regarding the questions Commissioner Jackson asked, I agree that every law that we pass can be phrased as a mandate, and the question is just which laws we want. And further, sort of regarding Mr. Hopkins' point, is that this resolution requests a high level of service, which can be hard to grant. Especially because our officers in both the parish and the city are, our office departments, our law enforcement departments are understaffed. And to get those staffing levels higher, it occurs to me that we would probably need to have more money to pay more people more to encourage them to do that. And that means either re-examining our tradition of not rolling forward property taxes or making our taxes higher, because when you want more services, they have to be paid for. And that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Commissioner Watts.
Thank you, Mr. President. As I can understand that we have questions here, and I do believe we all have that right, we also have a responsibility. We are in a public health emergency, and the public is asking, no, the public is begging for our help. I think that if this resolution would highlight that there are some areas that may need additional resources, even with the shortfall of officers on both sides. I know that we received a juvenile from another parish in our juvenile detention center just Monday. So I know that they're in a rural area or somewhere else. I know that that happens often. But perhaps this is something that we can do. We cannot control every narrative that is out there, but this is one that is in our hands. And this is a resolution asking them to enforce what we already have as a law. I don't think that it will be a tremendous amount of youth that will be arrested or detained because of this. But however, this is something to let them know that we are serious about doing something about this issue that we're having right now. So I think that we could probably go back and forth with all type of issues that we may have with the wording, but this is not what this is about. This is about protecting our juveniles, our youth, our future, as well as holding those accountable that we do have a law and we want to see it enforced. I will be supporting this. Thank you, Mr. President.
Commissioner Epperson.
Attorney Frazier, does the city of Shreveport have a current curfew law?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's what I thought. If memory serves me correct, I think it went back to, I believe Roy Carey passed that. You know, when Roy Carey was on the city council. So that tells you something right there. And I imagine the bulk of these problems with the juveniles been in the urban areas. And, you know, we talk about juvenile detention center. We had to get kids from everywhere. We're talking about funding, but what they say, you got to pay to play. So I think if you did an analysis as to where those kids came from, you'll see that they're probably overwhelmingly coming out of the major urban areas. That's it.
Thank you, Commissioner Epperson. This resolution that I put in front of everybody, I put it in front of everybody because I'm quite sure most people didn't know that there was a driving curfew for juveniles. This is already a state law, didn't change the wording on it whatsoever. But you can tell if you drive anytime between 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. that there are juveniles out on the roads in Shreveport and in Caddo Parish. If you go out on Clyde Fant, you'll see juveniles out there past 11 o'clock. They can't just fly home, so they got to drive home. And, you know, even though this is in the unincorporated areas of Caddo Parish, all of them don't stay inside the city limits of Shreveport. Some of them stay in the rural area, and they're driving from Clyde Fant to there. They're driving from other locations to home. And so, you know, this is something to at least let the citizens of Caddo Parish know that, hey, there is a law out there, because a lot of them don't even know that this law exists. And we're just trying to make sure that law enforcement know we want this enforced. Now, they are short on manpower. That's not our fault. You know, there's different reasons why they're short on manpower. And those issues have to be addressed, but that's totally a different story and not pertaining to the resolution that's at hand. You know, if there was a murder and we're going to say, well, we don't want y'all to enforce that because y'all short on manpower. No, we want everything to be enforced. And it's up to the sheriff, and it's up to the chief of police to prioritize how his crews are going to be working. But that's not our problem to address. Our problem is to make sure that the laws that we put forth are enforced. If not, then there's no reason to put the law on the table. It's just that simple. It's not an option of, well, we want to enforce that, we don't want to enforce that. All of these should be enforced if it's a law. If it's not a law, then it's not a law. It's something else. It's called, we want you to do it, but you don't have to. But this says by state statute that you shall not drive between these hours and you are this age. That's what it says. And so we got to hold everybody accountable. People hold us accountable to do things. We got to hold law enforcement accountable to do their jobs. We got to hold educators involved to do their jobs. Everybody has an accountability issue. And so people expect us to do something. This is something that we're doing. Seeing no other comments or questions, roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Sorry, it took me a
You're
while to get
muted.
unmuted. Yeah, sorry. Okay, Commissioner Hopkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yeah.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Cawthorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts,
Yes.
Commissioner Taliaferro,
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez,
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus, and Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
All right, that motion passes with 11 in support and 1 absent. And that brings us to the next item on your agenda, which is to authorize the adoption of the recommendations of the Alcoholic Beverage Committee for selling to underage persons during its September 7th, 2021 meeting.
Move to
Move
advance.
to third.
Second.
Second.
Been
Sorry,
moved by Commissioner Atkins and seconded by Commissioner Hopkins.
Mr. Chairman, that should have gone to Chairman of the committee Hopkins, so my apologies.
All right, so we'll take the motion by Commissioner Hopkins and seconded by Commissioner Atkins.
Thank you.
Seeing no one want to speak on the Commissioner Hopkins, did you want to speak to that? Okay.
No, so I think the minutes are attached of what we did, and we just need to move it forward for final disposition.
Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Commissioner Hopkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yeah.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Cawthorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts,
Yes.
Commissioner Taliaferro,
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez,
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus, and Commissioner Epperson.
No.
All right, that motion carries with 10 in support, 1 in opposition, and 1 absent. And that brings us to the next item, which is communiques and committee reports, where your first item today is the administrative report. And I believe the administration has submitted those and it's attached to your agenda. As well as the August financials, by the way, while they're starting to talk, a hard copy of the August financials is available in your mailboxes as well.
Okay, good afternoon, commissioners. I hope everybody's doing well. I'm a little hoarse today, but nevertheless, I'm going to persevere and move forward with my report. The first item we have is the ERAP program. We have received year to date up to 7,892 applications. We have approximately 160 applications waiting in a queue. As you all know, we poll about 500 per week. So there's zero waiting time now as we presently are, because we poll more than we have in the queue, which is 160. Year to date, we have dispensed over $15 million in emergency assistance to 4,989 families located in the parish of Caddo. Also, we are expecting another $4.8 million in the ERAP 2 program, and we think we'll be getting that soon. Also, I think most of you may be aware, I sent you out an email last week. NACO had notified us, and matter of fact, frankly pointed out to us, we're among 4 counties in America that have dispensed over 90% of our ERAP funds. So statistically, that's a pretty good place to be in terms of effectiveness of this program. There are 3,063 counties across America, and we were in the top 4 for being able to manage this program effectively, at least at the 90% and above level. So we're real proud of that. Also, in detention, we have 17 juveniles. We have 3 that belong to OJJ, and we have 6 out of the 17 are 17-year-olds, and we currently now have 10 juveniles at CCC. And you should have received a financial report from us. and kind of give you an idea of how we are trending as an organization regarding COVID. The administration and legal department, we had 0 positive exposure totals. Up from this is from through the 9th of I think September 20th, and we started tracking this back in June. Animal services, we had 3 exposures, 3 positive, and a total of 6, 1 hospitalized. And we have in commission, we had 1 person, total of 1. Facilities and maintenance, we had 8 positive, 1 exposure, 9 total. Finance, we had 2 positives, 1 exposure, 3 total. Human resource, we had 0 for the time frame. Juvenile services, we had 3 positives, 4 exposures, a total of 7. And parks and recreation, we had.
I'm sorry.
Pardon me? Okay. For parks and recreation, we had 0 positive and 0 exposures. Public works, we had 3 positive, 4 exposures, a total of 7 interactions, 1 hospitalized. Summer workers, we had 2 exposures, total of 2. And unfortunately, in our facilities and maintenance department, out of the 9 total exposures we had 2 hospitalized and 1 deceased in the last month. So one of the commissioners asked me to provide that information to you all, and I'm still working on the agencies that utilize our facilities, whether or not I could obtain the same information. And so more to come on that. And that concludes my report, and I hope I wasn't too uncomprehendable today with my voice. Any, President Johnson, that concludes my report there. Let's see any questions for me,
Thank
sir.
you. Thank you, Dr. Wilson. I see John Paul Young is on the board.
Yes,
Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to congratulate our administration and Dr. Wilson and Erica Bryant for their awesome work on the emergency rental assistance program. I think that they have really demonstrated how much they can do, and I appreciate them very much. And I know our citizens appreciate that a lot. And I just wanted to point out that the total juveniles that we have now is 27 in custody, which is more than our 24-person bed by a bit, and it may go up. Thank you. That's all.
Yes. And Commissioner Young, this should be an uptick also in the number of juveniles being held at CCC. Yeah, you probably read the editorial that the DA put out, which he's saying that he's going to be trying more about juveniles as adults now. And I like Commissioner Young to know that Ms. Haley has been on the point of the sword for us at managing this ERAP program. And we also thank Commissioner Jackson for his comments and his inputs too in the program. And I believe Commissioner Jackson is scheduled to do a presentation before NACO regarding the ERAP program as well.
Thank you, Dr. Wilson.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Jackson.
I'm up for communiques.
Mm-hmm.
That it, Dr. Wilson?
Yes, sir.
All right. Next item, Mr. Clerk.
That brings us to commission remarks, communiques, reports, and other items related to the work session agenda.
Mr. Jackson.
Yes, let me echo the great work for the ERAP program. It is, again, a program that when first introduced and brought out, there was a lot of conversations when it was first dropped onto the table. And Dr. Wilson can tell you, Ms. Bryant can tell you, Ms. Barnett can tell you, there were many long nights, particularly Dr. Wilson can tell you, long evenings and nights where we talked about how the program design would look to have the best program possible. And there were some, at times, disagreements, but there were also at times where some folks or everybody had to say, well, you know what, let's stop and I think Commissioner Cawthorn says this often, let's stop talking at each other and have a conversation with each other to get down to how this thing is going to look like. And Dr. Wilson, NACO is facilitating, but I want to be clear that it's USDA Department of United States Department of Agriculture. And that call will be led by Secretary Vilsack. A lot of people don't know that USDA is one of, outside of HUD, is the largest administrator of housing programs, which also includes rental assistance. And so a lot of people don't know that, and a lot of people don't recognize USDA for that. And I think that's, I should have said US Department of Agriculture if I didn't say that. A lot of people don't recognize them for that. And to be, I was with Leadership Louisiana, which is a statewide group of executives this Saturday. And when they realized that we were one of 4 parishes and counties across the country to be successfully administering our ERAP program, at least 3 of them came to me afterwards to try to get details on how, why, and those individuals particularly were in the Orleans and Jefferson Parish area. So it is a testament to what happens when everybody works together and everybody comes to the table in good faith for a resolution. So thank you, Dr. Wilson. Thank you, Erica. Thank you, Haley, for your work. And thank you to the community partners that have been a part of that.
Yeah, that's true. You're right.
Thank you to everybody who has played a role in getting us to this. And I'm looking forward to highlighting it because I'm going to plug the parish, and hopefully Secretary Vilsack will support the parish with some additional housing resources because they have them. I also wanted to see if there's any timeline for when we will be meeting back in person. Has that been discussed or established? Because I know we have some pressing items. One was highlighted today in our economic development meeting. So is there any timetable for when we'll be meeting back in person? That's a question.
Is that the question to the chair? It depends on COVID cases.
Anybody who can answer for me.
Well, it depends on the chairperson. So it would be depending on COVID cases. We still having COVID cases in our Caddo Parish Commission. And so to keep from having multiple exposures, we'll be out until we get that under control.
Well, I heard one, Dr. Wilson. I heard you say that there was one.
He said there was one in the commission, but then there was some in finance, there was some in facilities and maintenance. And so that could be department heads, that could be employees that work for the department head, it could be the assistant directors. So we still have a problem.
Yes, sir. We're still having employees that have been being infected by the virus.
Mm-hmm.
So that is ongoing and pretty hard to predict at this present time, what it will look like going down the road, but we are still being impacted.
Dr. Wilson, do you foresee that those that are in government plaza, is there a way? I mean, because I understand that we still have, and trust me, I'm for safety, but I realize that it's also hurting our agenda. It's hurting our ability to address things on the agenda as well. And it seems like things are piling up and some things have deadlines that need to be met.
Yes.
And well, I guess my Attorney Frazier, there's a provision that says the chairman must certify the agenda, but isn't there a provision that also says that the body can add something to that agenda by 3/4 vote?
No, Commissioner, the provision says that something that the president determines is critical and time sensitive, and it is then certified by 2/3 vote of the commission. So you have the certification and the 2/3 vote.
Okay, so that's all one and the same.
Yes, that's all
Gotcha.
part of the virtual requirement.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, we've identified an issue that needs to move forward. I've talked to the commission president and asked for a vote on that. And so hopefully we can add that to our agenda on Thursday because time is of the essence. And then I just want to talk very briefly about the developments within the Economic Development Committee today. I'm not here to steal Commissioner Cawthorn's any thunder if he wants to talk about it. But I do want to talk about just in general my concern about when certain people put things on the agenda. It has been at this point a month since the Economic Development District was first placed on the agenda. And in between now and then, and particularly today, I received very few calls about folks having concerns, legitimate concerns. Items came up today, which I have no problem discussing. But if the only time something comes up is when we're at the meeting, when I have asked people to reach out to me so I can address your concern in a legitimate manner. Today, 3 items were identified that could have been, I feel, could have been easily talked through had a conversation simply been had prior to the meeting. And so I will continue to say, if you have a legitimate question or concern, not just being pessimistic, but if you have a legitimate comment or concern about anybody's legislation, I would encourage folks to reach out to them, ask those questions so that, because the meeting today, I just hope and pray folks who are looking at Caddo Parish were not looking or won't go back and take a look at. Because as I told the chairman, I can only do my part and I can only carry my water. I can't assume that I know what issues, and people will say, well, I got questions, and then I'll ask, what's your questions? And I never get your question. And so we've got to learn to trust each other. We've got to learn to take each other's word. And I can rattle off a list of things that seem to get over scrutinized when some things get under scrutinized. And I just feel like we have to do a better job. Everybody down here has a right to have a voice. Everybody down here has a right to ask questions. But what we have to do is work together, trust each other. We're all adults. Nobody finds pleasure in having to have something they say or something they propose be validated as if either you don't know what you're talking about or we don't trust what you have to say. And so I hope that everyone, and this is just an appeal. I'm not accusing anyone of anything. I'm simply making an appeal that everyone operate in good faith, ask questions because that's the only way you can get an understanding. But ask those questions and learn to have trust, because when people come to me with certain things, I tell them my concerns. I tell them what my questions are. I either write it out to them, and then I tell them where I'm at or how I can get there. But let's not keep each other in this sort of chase about where you really are on the issue, because people are watching what we're doing, whether it's economic development, whether it's crime, whether it's infrastructure, whether it's environmental sustainability. People are watching what we're doing with a cautious eye. And we have to be intentional about the things that we do. Again, not accusing anyone, but just making an appeal.
Jackson, time is up.
Well, I'll ask for, because I'm closing here. Just ask for everybody to work with each other and trust one another. Thank you.
Commissioner Young, then Commissioner Cawthorn, Commissioner Epperson, and Commissioner Atkins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to make a request of all the commissioners who haven't appointed someone to the Juvenile Services Advisory Board to please consider and appoint someone so that they can reach their quorum number if they haven't yet and begin meeting. And I don't think that they have yet. That's something that in the Juvenile Services Committee we discussed as one of the ways forward on considering the issues that have been facing us for a long time regarding juvenile detention services and crime. I also want to mention to all the commissioners to think about working to raise the juvenile services millage, juvenile justice millage, since we are experiencing a kind of crisis of juvenile delinquency and juvenile crime. And since our constituents are asking for more and more services, some are asking for more detention, some are asking for more rehabilitation, some are asking for more prevention. All that is going to take thinking, which can be done partly by us and partly by the advisory board. And it's going to take money to implement. And if we're not going to spend down our savings, then we need to raise more money for more services to have a better functioning and safer society. That means, again, considering rolling forward property taxes, which I understand we never do, and raising taxes. And it also involves us speaking to our constituents about why these increases in revenues for public purposes and for public safety are necessary to provide them what they want. That's everything I wanted to say. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Commissioner Cawthorn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't want to go without congratulating the staff for Yeoman's job with the Rental Assistance Program. It's a beautiful thing when Caddo Parish leads the way instead of following the way. And so I would like to see this is in as many periodicals or media outlets as possible, letting people know that the heavy lifting that we are doing in a crisis time and in a health pandemic, that Caddo Parish is leading the way and doing what it is that we need to do. So hats off to the staff for rolling up their sleeves and getting it done time and time again. You guys are appreciated. Secondly, we did have an Economic Development Committee meeting today, and Mr. Jackson really didn't steal my thunder. I just want to comment, kind of speak to his issues or his concerns. I think it was a productive meeting, and what we do in terms of legislative bodies, we do get involved in sausage making. And so I would just admonish Commissioner Jackson. I know we got 12 different commissioners, 12 different personalities. Just try to see how you get your arms around with the individual concerns that each commissioner may have or a couple of commissioners may have to see how we move the process down the road. Just remember what I said earlier, seek ye first to understand and then to be understood. Thank you.
Commissioner Atkins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just following up on Commissioner Jackson and Commissioner Cawthorn, it certainly is not my intent to offend somebody when I reach out to a broader audience to try to better understand a given situation. You know, we're all learning every day, and it's important to get input from a number of people when working through an important decision. And you know, I know certain people have one view, other people have another view. So it's my goal to get input from a number of people, and then when possible, get a number of people in the same room to hash it out together, because I don't want to always have to try to be the go-between between different ideas or to try to interpret one idea versus another idea. It's oftentimes helpful in the process to get input from all simultaneously. So there certainly was no intention to offend anyone in working through this issue. That's just tends to be the way it goes sometimes when you want to get input from a lot of different people. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Epperson, your hand was up earlier.
Pass.
Okay, Commissioner Gage Watts.
Thank you, Mr. President. As I appreciate everyone's sentiments in reference to the Juvenile Detention Center, grateful to have so much support. even speaking on the appointments to the Youth Community Advisory Board, due to our agenda being shortened at this time due to the COVID protocols. I think if anyone does have any other appointees that they have recommended, that those are on hold. Am I correct, Mr. President?
Say it again, Commissioner Watts.
Any representatives that have been recommended to the Youth Community Advisory Board, they are not on our current agenda
No, they're not.
due to,
It doesn't meet the qualifications for the meeting.
okay. So we will only be able to adopt those once we meet in person?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I wanted to make sure that we address that just so that it doesn't appear that we're lagging in any area for that purpose. I also wanted to thank you for initiating the conversation with several other entities that shall be included in a broader discussion about the Juvenile Detention Center. And I also want to say to my colleagues that we should proceed with much caution about the millage increase. I think I seen Haley on here. Madam CAO, Miss Bryant, I don't see her anymore. Can you explain how much a millage increase we would need to bring us up to date from the 1957 millage?
Commissioner Gage Watts, we currently have about a $4 million deficit currently in the Juvenile Services Fund. We've looked at the numbers and we think ideally a millage that would stand a good chance of passing is about 4 or 5 mills. The highest mill Caddo Parish has right now is right at 5 mills, so we wouldn't look to go over that. And that could bring in between $6 and $7 million. Although that doesn't eliminate the entire deficit, that would go a long way to, we would still make transfers into the fund as we're currently doing, but that would allow us to be able to operate additional beds, hire additional probation officers, provide more programming. So we think about a 4 to 5 mil tax is where we would need to be just to be able to provide. Ideally, it would take 7, but we think that that's too high. But 4 or 5 would probably be our best bet.
So 7 would plug the hole, but a 4 or 5 would give us an opportunity to alleviate funds in another area. And what would that cost a common citizen who taxes could be, just say, $2,000 a year?
For a $200,000 home, I'm calculating it, man. Maybe about $80 a year.
80 additional.
But I don't think I factored, yes. But I don't, let me see, I don't think I.
Is that factoring in the homestead exemption?
Yeah, I don't think I did. I just did it on 200,000. Okay. Yeah, so about $60 is what I.
Okay. And again, that this would not eliminate the deficit.
No, we still would have. So currently we're, you all are transferring in each year from the Criminal Justice Fund about $4 million. So we probably would still have a need for that transfer. But we think for the citizens, 7 meals was probably too much of a burden on them. So we think that the 4 to 5 meals would be less of a burden on the taxpayers and something that we could put in place with minimal effect. Although there would be an increase in taxes, it wouldn't be as significant as, say, a 7 meal tax.
Absolutely. That would be a different, I think, a different perspective for a lot of citizens. to look at it from that point of view. In addition, I do think that having additional discussion with regional facilities, I still believe that that is advantageous for us to discuss because we do house a lot of juveniles that are not Caddo Parish citizens. So we'll continue the conversation. I just wanted to take this opportunity to highlight that. Thank you.
Seeing no one else, next item, Mr. Clerk.
I have a.
All right, the next item is going to
I
be
have
the
a
president.
request, Mr.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I got a court request. I'm sorry. My thing was up.
Okay, it's communiques.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Mrs. Dr. Wilson or Mrs. Bryant. There you go, Doc. The information did we submit the stuff that was supposed to be submitted to the Treasury Department for the ARP stuff? Or because I remember we kept saying we had a deadline.
Yes, sir. We've met all the deadlines for submitting our applications in the response that they wanted from us.
Okay, can we get a copy of that?
Yes, sir.
Get a copy of that?
Yes, sir. Erica, that was a written transmittal or verbal?
Yes, now I will say our reporting requirement has been adjusted.
Yes.
Because of the census numbers. We're below 250 now. So our reporting did change, but we have provided to the Treasury the information. Haley in the Finance Department has prepared that first report that we needed to turn in. So yes.
Well, when there was I kept hearing something about a strategic plan that we had to put together.
Right,
Yes.
we did, but that was for populations with 250 and above.
Okay.
So now that we are no longer a 250 population, some of those requirements we don't have to comply with. But there are still a level of reporting requirements that we do have to do. It's just that some of the detail does not have to be provided since we're below a population of 250.
Okay. So I would, if whatever we sent up, if we can, whatever we sent up or whatever the final product was, I think maybe everybody had a copy of that and
Okay.
share it out with everybody.
No problem.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next item, Mr. Clerk.
Next item is going to be the president's report.
I save it to Thursday.
Okay, then that brings us to the consent agenda.
Take a
And
motion to adjourn.
Motion for adjournment.
And
Second.
moved by Commissioner Cawthorn, second by Commissioner Atkins to adjourn. Goodbye, everybody.
Ready.